Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, for those of you that work in the tech or security industry, you probably know all about Trend Micro already, and how they are on a mission to make the world safer for exchanging digital information and enabling resilience for businesses, governments and consumers alike. But today, I want to take a look under the hood at Trend Micro and hear a few stories behind the company, and also learn more about exactly how they are protecting hundreds of thousands of organisations and millions of individuals across everything from clouds, networks, devices and endpoints, all with the help of 7,000 employees in 65 different countries. It's an incredibly cool one, this one, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Dallas, Texas, where Trend Micro Chief Operating Officer Kevin Simzer is waiting to join us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Neil, for the opportunity. We really appreciate it. So my name is Kevin Simzer. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Trend Micro. Trend is one of the largest cybersecurity companies on the planet. A lot of people know and love and want to talk about cybersecurity these days. So it's a great industry to be in. We're fortunate that we're one of the largest, and we help the world exchange digital information securely. So that's what we're all about.
And I'm looking forward to finding out more information about that and your story. But before we do, I've got to ask, can you remember the moment that sparked your passion for technology and what put you on this path, and ultimately share your origin story? Because before we even started recording, we were geeking out a little bit about cameras and stuff. So I know there's a passion for tech there.
I'm not sure what actually created it. You know, it's kind of interesting. I grew up in a rural area on a dairy farm. And, if anybody has any experience with growing up in an environment like that, you're always fixing things. You're always tinkering with things. And I think that just sort of fueled my appetite. And the fact that I didn't want to wake up every morning at 4:30 a.m. for the rest of my life, I decided to go and do an engineering degree. And I just, kept building and building. And and I've been really, really fortunate and blessed to work with fantastic teams. I've actually been in security itself for, 30 years, Neil. I've earned the bags under my eyes here. So those are very real. But I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. It was a very different industry 30 years ago. And today, 5,000 cybersecurity companies out there. And it's a wonderful, wonderful industry. And I encourage people to join it. It's really fantastic.
And I'm glad you've said that as well, because there's so much talk at the moment about the cybersecurity skills shortage at the moment. There's something like 3 million jobs going to be waiting on the horizon. Currently, the industry has a 0% unemployment rate. It's never been a better time to train and get into cybersecurity, has it? No matter where anyone's listening in the world.
You're totally right. And it truly is a global phenomenon. And the skills gap is very real. We're pretty fortunate here at Trend because we have a brand, we have a great reputation. We can do okay at recruiting skilled labor, but we've actually done something unique, which I think is pretty cool. Across the globe, we've actually built up a number of cybersecurity practitioner training centers, and literally we hire people, we pay them to join, and we run them through this 6-month curriculum. And after 6 months, not only are they trained in cybersecurity, but they have a great deal of expertise within our own platform. And but we don't hire them all. We actually hire half of the graduating class, and the rest we help to seek to secure positions in the rest of our ecosystem. sometimes it's our customers, sometimes it's our channel partners. And we really think it's a good way of helping to address this skills shortage that does exist. It's very real. Those are not just headlines.
It's so refreshing to hear your approach there. And just to take you back in time a little bit, that path obviously led you to Trend Micro, which is helping make the world safer for exchanging digital information. But can you just offer an overview of what Trend Micro is and the kind of problems you solve for your customers and what makes you a little bit different from other solutions out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's what we sell or what we offer to our customers. We're fixated on threat actors and what threat actors are trying to do to our customer, to customers, to people out there, and we stay focused in on what they are trying to do, and we offer up a unified cybersecurity platform that helps customers protect themselves against those adversaries. And we think we do it special. We think we do it in a unique way. One is we take a very broad aperture approach. We think of cybersecurity as you need to care about your laptop and your desktop. You need to care about your email environment. You need to care about your server and your cloud instances. You need to care about your network security. So we look at all of those things and we try to be as comprehensive and unified as possible within our single platform. So that's the one area that we're really, really unique in what we do. The second is, I feel like I've won the lottery in terms of being able to work at Trend because we're so global. We have over 500,000 customers globally that rely on Trend to actually be able to protect them from these adversaries. And we do business in over 65 countries. So we truly are, not only this big presence in the US, but actually 25% of our business comes from the Americas, 25% from Europe, 25% from Middle East and Southeast Asia, and 25% from Japan, where we are headquartered. So we truly have this global footprint and this global access to what's going on in the world. And we think that gives us a unique point of view.
Just to bring to life everything that you're talking about there, do you have any examples of how you're providing what you just said there, a range of these advanced threat defense techniques optimized for environments in all the places where businesses are working at the minute? And by that, I mean AWS, Microsoft, Google, and also offer central visibility for that better, faster detection and response. Because I was reading recently about if businesses wait for a support ticket to come through, making them aware that there's a problem, or a user reports it, it's already too late, isn't it?
It truly is. We fundamentally believe that you need to have a bunch of layered security defense mechanisms put in place. We really focus in on this layered security approach, all wrapped into a unified security platform. We've taken the approach of a hybrid model. And by that, I mean, we offer this platform in both an on-premise version and also in a SaaS version, a cloud version of the platform. And we find that helpful because we sell to lots of highly regulated industries. And while everybody agrees that the world is moving to the cloud and SaaS is software as a service is definitely what everybody wants to get to, not everybody is quite ready for that. So we find delivering this unified cybersecurity platform in a hybrid model. So you can choose whether you want it on premise in your data center or you want to deploy it in our public data center that we use, which is a combination of AWS and Azure, that actually gives us additional value that we offer up to our customers.
And who are your audience? Who do you serve? Is it SMBs, large enterprises, or everything in between?
We really service everybody. So again, it's kind of unique. By far, 2/3 of our business comes from enterprise, though. That's truly where some of the bigger engagements tend to be. But we sell to everybody.
And a question I've got to ask, as this is a daily tech podcast, and I appreciate you probably can't share everything about what you do there, but can you tell me more about the technology that makes everything you do possible?
For sure. So, this tends to be one of the areas where I feel as an industry we're a bit guilty of. Some people are a bit guilty of thinking that there's silver bullets that are out there, and based on my experience, there are not. And like any good cybersecurity company, like ourselves, we of course use all of the common techniques, AI, machine learning, patterns, rules, behavioral detection, like all kinds of different tools and techniques are built into our platform. So, that's sort of the primary raw materials, if you will. But we think much higher level than that. And that's where this unified platform across endpoint, network, cloud, email really gives a customer sort of the strongest viewpoint, because they have all this wonderful insight as to what's going on within their enterprise that some of the other people are focused in on just products, small products or small features, and it just gives us a unique point of view. That's all.
And before you came on the podcast today, I was reading up on you guys, and one of the things that stood out to me on the outside looking in is this global threat research team that you have, and how they gather intelligence and insights that power your cybersecurity platform that ultimately aims to protect organizations around the world from hundreds of millions of threats daily. Can you tell me more about that global threat research team and how that works?
Get me started. We're a very tech kind of like our discussion around cameras at the front of the interview. We're a very tech-oriented, tech-led company. And I'm super proud of the fact that we've got 7,000 trenders globally. Over half of them are actually engineers. Like, it's really incredible to have this amount of talent in one single spot focused in on adversaries. And within that team, we have this wonderfully powerful trend research team, and we spend, day and night thinking about the way that the adversaries are thinking, and we spend time from a forward threat research standpoint, contemplating what the world could look like in a few years and what the threats coming down the pipe look like. We sponsor something called Zero Day Initiative, where we and Pwn to Own conferences, where we're literally out there targeting, a set of external researchers on specific tasks, and we buy those exploitable vulnerabilities, and we work with the vendors that are being exploited to actually get the problems remedied and fixed before they end up in the public domain. So we spend time thinking about the threat landscape on a regional basis. We actually have threat research centers all across the globe. So definitely research is a big part of I think why we have been so successful over our 33 years. Can you believe it? Yeah. We've been doing this so successfully for over 33 years. It's really quite incredible.
And for everyone listening all around the world, is there any particular security tech trends that you're currently monitoring?
Well, like I said earlier, we're really fixated on we like anything to do with software as a service. We fundamentally believe that it's not right for everybody, but when they can get there, we think that you can do a much better job of securing your infrastructure with. So we're going to continue on that mission for sure. We fundamentally believe that You cannot just be fixated on, just an endpoint or just a network or just a server. You actually have to think of it, the world, it's more complicated. Threat actors are getting much more sophisticated and stringing together various attack techniques. So you have to also think about how to do that. So we think a unified platform is really, really interesting. Of course, we're exploring all kinds of different things. We're kind of thinking quite a bit around the operational threat environment that exists in smart factories. Smart factories are increasingly being a point of entry for the bad guys. And then they're working their way from that OT environment over to the IT environment. So we're spending quite a bit of time on that. We're looking at EV cars and this next generation of car platform that's coming down the pipe, and what we could potentially see in terms of all kinds of different car manufacturers emerging, and software updates over the air, and how that is all going to work in a secure way. So we have all kinds of different things that we are definitely spending time on, that really sort of go along with our mission of, securing the connected world. We think of everything as potential where cybersecurity needs to play a role. One silly metaphor, I don't know, maybe you don't like it, and I'll see it in your eyes as your eyes roll. But in trend, we think of the innovation in automobiles overall. And some people would say that brakes are a really important component of any car. We would all agree with that. But most people would originally gravitate to brakes slow a car down. But actually, they were really a component on the car to make the car go faster, to allow the car to go faster. And as the brake technology improved, so too did the speed of the cars, or the ability for this car to go faster. So you've got to have brakes. But it's not a negative. It's how do you get it built? How do you get cybersecurity built in and allow everybody to go faster? Because, the transformations that customers want to make, whether it's in, global pandemics, or whether it's in, potential recessionary times, people are still innovating. Like it's just happening. We have to get more competitive. So it's been fun.
What a great metaphor. And there's certainly no eye rolling from me. And you've been in the space for, as you said, over 30 years here. And I'm curious, what changes have you seen? And by that, I mean, if I go back just 5-10 years ago, the board never seemed to understand the importance of proactive approach to security instead of the reactive approach where you wait for something to go wrong. Everyone panics. Everyone's trying to react to the situation. So they never saw the value in being more proactive and stop it happening before. And very often the board never actually saw the ROI and the value of cybersecurity because, hey, it might not happen to them. Has that attitude completely changed now, or do you still see it in some circles?
I think completely is a bit of a generous word, but for sure it has changed dramatically over the last 30 years. Whenever I think about when I first got started, it was cybersecurity was really, really confined within one small organization in companies. And we were often last at the table. We were the just say no people. And, we were, we had to evolve as an industry, and we did. Customers also ended up evolving. And to the point now, it's exactly what you're saying. Not only do we see, our primary buyers tend to be IT infrastructure. They tend to be security operations centers and cloud buyers. And when I look across that, you say, oh, well, that seems pretty straightforward, 3 teams. But what's even more fantastic is now all of a sudden C-level executives are involved. You see CIOs, you see CISOs, you see CEOs and boards that are now actually spending more time thinking about, well, what is their overall risk? associated around cybersecurity and what are they doing about it. Risk is a big topic at the board level now. So, it's actually quite nice to have that level of visibility. It maybe helps with certain projects to get approved, but it also means we've got to up our game. We've got to really be that trusted advisor that is out there and providing the necessary information that all of these folks need in order to feel confident and sleep well at night that, okay, their environment is fully protected.
And as we look towards the future, what's next for Trend Micro? What's your big focus now? Is there anything you can share what you're working on and what your focus is right now?
Oh, in terms of, specifically on my day-to-day stuff, I'm obsessed with, I run around through this triangle of, fixated on customers, making sure we got the right talent pool in place. And then, of course, we all have boards and executives and investors that we need to make sure are. So I run around within that triangle, and that's what I do personally. From a Trend Micro perspective, we have a big focus on talent right now. Talent development is a big thing that we have going on. It's we're trying to figure out, like everybody else, what this hybrid working model looks like. And while we still have offices all around the globe, we're definitely embracing remote work in a very, very big way. So that's something that we felt like we did really well during the pandemic, and we feel like that can continue. And so we're trying to land in a spot where we think the office is the new offsite. So that's something we're all working through and trying to figure out. But no, it's the areas that I talked about from an innovation standpoint. Those are the areas that we're going to continue to stay focused on.
Fantastic. We began the podcast talking about your origin story, the dairy farmer that didn't want to get up at 4:30 a.m. for the rest of his days. And as we've come full circle now and reached the end, I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with a personal note of inspiration. So is there a book that has inspired you, or maybe a song that has accompanied you throughout your career? And what we'll do, we'll add the song to a Spotify playlist or a book to the Amazon wish list. All I ask is a nice little story behind your choice. What springs to mind there?
Oh my, I wasn't prepared for this question. Well, I have 3 kids, all adult and out of the house, but all somehow still on my payroll at the end of the day, which is another story and probably for another podcast, but it's all good fun. I love having adult kids. It's their ventures are so exciting, and I feel like I get to roll my sleeves up and participate in it. But one of the things they keep trying to work on me is they are absolutely obsessed with rap music, and I just cannot get my head around rap music. I just can't do it, and they continue to send me songs and playlists and everything to try and immerse myself in it, but I cannot get there. So I'm an old school, I call it alternative rock. My kids roll my eyes whenever I say it, but I love Three Doors Down is my favorite band, and they're not big. They didn't get very big, but that was my favorite band. And I think of a nice ballad like Landing in London because I travel the world, and it just reminds me of my travel experiences and being away from loved ones. So, I'll leave you with that.
That's a beautiful story, and I will add that to our Spotify playlist. But before I let you go, for anyone that just wants to find out more information about anything we talked about today, see what the kind of work you're doing and find out more information, or even contact your team, what's the best starting point for everything Trend Micro?
Yeah, for sure. Trendmicro.com is the place to go. We've got all kinds of resources up there, including free tools just to help you out, free assessments, all kinds of things that you can download and learn. it's not a big monetization vehicle for us. We just actually feel it's our obligation. So please join. Go to trendmicro.com. We're heavy on the social media channels, and you can, of course, find lots of posting happening from both our Trend Micro team and our Trend Micro research team specifically. There's lots of good content on social media that you'll be able to access.
Well, the big theme of this podcast, and something I say at the end of every episode, is technology works best when it brings people together. And before you came on, I was doing that research on you guys. I quickly learned you got more than 7,000 employees across 65 countries, all focused on security and passionate about making the world a safer and better place. So what you do just exemplifies everything that we talk about here on the show. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing that story and also your very personal story too. So thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it.
So much I loved about Kevin's story and chatting with him today. And he's just one of those people I could chat with for hours. And before we started recording the podcast, we were geeking out for 5 to 10 minutes about his camera setup. And instantly, his eyes lit up, his passion for technology shined through instantly. And that is why I record this podcast every day. So no matter where you're listening in 165 different countries right now, do you have a story to share? Do you want to share what problems you solve and how you're leveraging technology to make a difference? Well, there is a seat here next to me and an open invitation to join me on the podcast. Simply email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, slide into the DMs, as the kids would say, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for @NeilC.Hughes. And if you need any help launching your own podcast or need help with ghostwritten content, check out my website, techblogwriter.co.uk, where you'll also find over 2,000 podcast interviews on this show and also the podcast I host with Citrix too. But I'm afraid we're out of time again now, so a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.